I'm John Horn of the LA Times.
I'm Steve Zeitchik with the LA Times.
This weekend we have a big movie coming out, Martin Scorsese's Shutter Island. I know you're a huge fan of the film. Can't wait to see it again.
I like the film okay. I mean, it is a piece of pulp that's enjoyable for a while, and then it becomes nonsensical. I think A.O. Scott said it pretty well in today's New York Times review. He said, he spends a lot of time asking the audience to scrutinize the rug that he's only going to pull out from under us anyway.
I'm going to defer to Betsy Sharkey's review in the LA Times, which was much more enthusiastic. I think it's an interesting adaptation of Dennis Lehane's novel. I actually think the movie has broad audience appeal. And I think it's going to do incredibly well. I mean, $35, $40 million opening.
I think there's no question this is going to be among Scorsese's and DiCaprio's biggest openings. I think Paramount really benefited. You wrote in your piece yesterday about how Paramount took it out of that whole sort of rush, or crush rather, of October, November, December films to put it in February. It's kind of got a little bit of breathing room. It's the only wide opener this week. I think it's going to do well. I think Paramount ends up looking smart after previously looking a little.
No, it's generally the case when a movie falls out of a release schedule. There's something wrong with it. We saw it with Wolfman, which moved 3 or 4 times, opened to kind of middling business last week. I think the movie's going to do incredibly well, and Scorsese isn't the only big filmmaker who has a new movie coming out this week.
That's right. Roman Polanski's The Ghostwriter, a movie that I happened to see at a screening here in Los Angeles last week. Another big auteur, kind of a much more limited opening. I think it's only opening in 4 theaters in New York and Los Angeles. I like the film a lot. It really harks back to some of his best kind of paranoiac sort of themed movies from several decades ago, and we'll see if audiences spark to it. The question is Polanski now kind of a tainted figure with audiences?
He's not doing a lot of press in support of this movie, is he?
No, he didn't come by the office here either, which I'm kind of surprised.
I actually think audiences don't really care that much about the personal lives of filmmakers. I think maybe when it's an actor, it becomes more of an issue. I think they, especially with a Polanski movie, it's a limited audience anyway.
Exactly.
They're responding to the work of the filmmaker. I think what's interesting is that both the Scorsese and the Polanski movie, exactly the kind of movies that aren't being made anymore. And I think the news out of Hollywood this week was development deals and announcements about movies that are in a totally different category.
Yeah, it's funny. We're sitting here talking about this weekend and some of the kind of the most esteemed filmmakers doing these kind of very rigorous, sort of formally rigorous pieces of filmmaking based on original or adapted, but sort of fundamentally original pieces of material. Literary works. And then you've got movies this week we've announced just in the last few days. American Pie, straight off its 4 DVD run is coming back to theaters, probably with a lot of the original cast. Universal's bringing that back, and now there's apparently some negotiations going on for potentially Fox to do a movie based on Missile Command, that movie with that video game from
and Asteroids is in development too,
Asteroids is in development too. So as much as you've got these kind of older filmmakers making original works, you've got a lot of studio development on some pretty derivative works.
So I would say if audiences don't show up for Polanski and Scorsese this weekend, it's going to be a lot more board games.
Get ready for Pac-Man and Dig Dug.
I'm John Horn from the LA Times.
I'm Steve Zeitchik.